Madam Deputy Clerk, time is 7:01. I'm calling this public planning meeting to order. The town of Aurora acknowledges that the Anishinaabe lands on which we live and work are the traditional and treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island, as well as many other nations whose presence here continues to this day. As the closest First Nation community to Aurora, we recognize the special relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and as a municipality, we join them in these responsibilities. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas and Chippewas recognized through Treaty Number 13, as well as the Williams Treaties of 1923. Shared understanding of the rich cultural heritage that has existed for centuries and how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us walk together into a better future. Councillor, can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Councillor Gilliland, Councillor Weiss, any comments, questions? Call a vote. I'll take yours. Yours is there. Councillor Gallows, yes. Anyone else not logged in yet? Councillor Gardner, did you want to just say yes or no? Yes? Yes. Councillor Gardner is a yes as well. I just sent it right now. No, it still didn't come in. Let me try it again. How's that? Did it come in now? Oh, I'm a yes. I hit yes twice. Councillor Kim, approval of the agenda? Yeah. Councillor Kim's a yes. That carries. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Welcome to Aurora's public planning meeting. The purpose of this public meeting is to inform the public and obtain public input regarding the proposed official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment applications. For the planning applications that will be considered by council tonight, the following process will occur. Town planning staff will outline the purpose of the planning applications being considered. Then the applicant will be given an opportunity to make a presentation and address issues raised in the staff report or public concerns already filed. Following these presentations, members of the public will be invited to offer their comments or concerns respecting the item virtually and in person. And following the comments from members of the public, I will then ask members of council for their comments. It is very important that the town receive the correct names and addresses of individuals having an interest in the planning applications. Therefore, if you plan to speak to council at this meeting, or if you wish to be notified of any further council or committee meetings concerning the applications being considered, you must complete a planning interested party and speaker request form available on the town's website at aurora.ca/planning notices, or contact Planning and Development Services by emailing at planning@aurora.ca, or complete a green interested party form and leave it with our committee coordinator sitting at the front. Linda's holding it up for everyone to see. Under the Planning Act, the applicant or residents have the right to appeal any decision of council on a planning application to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but you must verbally express any comments or concerns here tonight or submit any comments or concerns in writing to the town prior to council adopting an amendment. The tribunal may dismiss all or part of an appeal made in respect of an application. This public meeting is being audio and video recorded. Names, addresses, comments, and any other personal information are being recorded according to the Municipal Act and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This will help our town clerk prepare accurate minutes and to create a record that is available to the general public, including the town's website. Questions about this collection should be directed to the town clerk, Town of Aurora. I will now ask the Deputy Town Clerk to confirm that notification to the public occurred as required by the Plan Act. Madam Deputy Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Respecting item 5.1, application for official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment, Gervais Development Center Corp, 180-182 Center Street, part of lot 105, registered plan 246, file number OPA-2022-03, ZBA-2022-05, related file number SP-022-12. On August 23rd, 2023, a notice of public planning meeting was issued to all addressed property owners within 120 meters of the subject lands. published in the Auroran and the Aurora Banner newspapers, and posted on signage on the subject lands. Public notification has been provided in accordance with the Planning Act.
Thank you. I will now ask Director of Planning and Development Services to begin with the presentations. Mr. Ramuno.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As part of our process, our planner, Kenny Ng, will provide a brief overview of the planning applications before council this evening, and then we'll turn it over to the owner's planning consultant, Mr. Gord Mahoney, who also has a presentation on the applications. And I'd just like to mention that the actual owners of the site, the Gervais, are also here in attendance with another part of their consulting team. So we can turn it over to Kenny.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, and members of public. My name is Kenny Ng, and I'm a planner with the town's planning department. The purpose of this presentation is to provide information on the subject lands and also the planning applications. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. The subject lands are municipally known as 180 and 182 Center Crescent. The lands are located north of Center Street and west of Industrial Parkway North. The subject lands are located within a primarily industrial area and are surrounded by mainly industrial uses with few residential and retail uses. The properties are approximately 0.74 hectares or 1.89 acres in size, and currently each property contains a single detached dwelling. Next slide, please. The proposed applications will redevelop the subject lands to facilitate a 7-story apartment building with 193 units. To facilitate the development, the official plan amendment will redesignate the subject lands to a site-specific promenade general special design area designation. The proposed site-specific amendment also seeks to permit a maximum height of 7 stories for the apartment building. The zoning bylaw amendment will rezone the site from Service Employment Exception 9 zone to Second Density Apartment Residential Exception zone. The proposed exception zone contains site-specific zone standards to permit the proposed development. Next, please. To provide the background history on the subject lands, employment land conversion, the applicant submitted employment land conversion request to Regional Council on October 22nd, 2020. At the meeting, the site-specific employment conversion request for the subject lands was supported by regional staff and further endorsed by Regional Council. As a result, the New York Region official plan designates the subject lands as community area and can be developed for non-employment use. Next, please. The subject lands are currently designated existing employment-light industrial/service by the town's official plan. The designation is intended to accommodate a broad range of employment opportunities, as well as service commercial uses and retail uses of a quasi-industrial nature within existing employment areas. Next, please. The subject lands are currently zoned Service Employment Exception 9, which permits for commercial and service employment uses such as clinic, commercial school, convention center, industrial uses, offices, etc. Exception 9 permits for any industrial uses that existed prior to August 17, 1981. Next, please. Here is an overview of the proposed development. The proposed 7-story apartment will provide 193 units and will be serviced by 250 parking spaces in 2 levels of underground parking. Vehicle access is provided at the northeast corner of the subject lands and leads to the entrance ramp of the underground parking garage. There are 2 outdoor amenity areas on site, as well as an urban square, which is located at the northeast corner of the site. Next, please. As mentioned earlier, the official plan amendment will redesignate the subject lands from existing employment-light industrial/service to a site-specific promenade general-special area design area. The site-specific amendment will permit a maximum height of 7 stories. for the apartment building. The zoning bylaw amendment will rezone the subject lands from the existing exception zone to second density apartment residential exception zone. The amendment will alter the development standards on dwelling unit size, lot coverage, yard setbacks, require maneuvering space, parking requirement, as well as amenity area. A community information meeting was hosted by the applicant on June 22nd, 2023, which was attended by the agents, town staff, ward councillor, and members of the public. Some topics of discussion that were brought up by the public are as follows. Concerns over increased density and the associated increased traffic and risk of accidents for pedestrians. Provision of control rent units for the development. Access coordination with adjacent development at 180 Wellington Street, as well as future plans for the Metrolinx double rail track. A preliminary review of the proposed applications has been undertaken by town departments and external agencies prior to scheduling the public meeting. Staff have identified the following matters to be addressed in greater detail before bringing forward any future reports to council for consideration. Conformity with provincial planning documents, as well as regional and local employment land policies. Revised engineering reports to address staff comments. Considerations with respect to adjacent the traffic pedestrian study. Metrolinx comments regarding reduced setback from the adjacent property that was owned by Metrolinx, which is being considered for a conversion to a major transit area mixed use, as well as potential access point from Metrolinx owned lands to the west. Some further site and building design that will be further addressed at the site plan stage, as well as any comments to be received. Next, please. Following review of comments received and revisions that are necessary, staff will prepare a recommendation report for council's consideration at a future meeting. Following tonight's meeting, any questions or comments on the applications can be directed to my contacts. And the contact information is available online and on the public sign that was posted on the subject properties. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kenny. Romano, the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We can ask Mr. Gord Mahoney with Michael Smith Planning Partnership to begin his presentation.
Okay, thank you. And good evening, Mr. Mayor, council, staff, and members of the public. My name is Gord Mahoney. I'm a senior planner with Michael Smith Planning Consultants. And I'd also like to introduce the ownership team, Gerard, Steve, Ryan, Gervais, along with Drew McMartin, project advisor. And I'd like to thank Mr. Ng for a very detailed report. As he was going through it, I'm scratching off notes from my presentation. So I will be brief. I will run through my slide deck fairly quickly. And actually, if I could get to the, I think the fourth slide, we'll jump right to the fourth. In the fourth slide, back up one more. Oh, that's my apologies. It is an older version of my my presentation. We can leave it there. My first point was that we wanted to bring out was with the approval of the region's official plan in 2022 and the update that the town is currently going through. We have asked for, and with our OP, we've asked for a change to land use designation, an increase in height. But according to the town's February 2023 draft official plan, the property is being put into the promenade area and with a height, a minimum height or maximum height restriction of seven stories, which is what the current official plan application seeks. If I could have the next slide, please. Again, this is a colored version that Mr. Ng has shown. Again, the building's in yellow, parking is in the back. Again, we're providing 250 parking spaces, including on grade and below grade. And the 250 parking spaces do include 10 accessible parking spaces. Next slide, please. Building elevations. This is always the important part. People like to see what the building looks like. This is the north elevation. So you're standing on the north lot line looking south. This is what you would see. Again, 7 stories, balconies. I'm not quite sure why the architect divided the 2 buildings, but it gives you a sense of what the bottom one would be the closest part of the building to the north lot line. Next slide, please. East, so this is what you would be looking at if you were standing in an industrial parkway or across the road. Again, 7 stories, pedestrian accesses, balconies for the residence apartments. Next slide, please. South elevation, along with a couple 3D type of renderings or models of what the building would look like from bird eye view. Next slide, please. And again, this is the west elevation, very similar. Next slide, please. Parking layout. This is the first level of the parking, and then of course a ramp down. Next slide, please. To the second floor. Again, next slide, please. This is the first floor plan. This is indicates the units in light green, which may be hard to pick out, are one bedroom units, and the ones that are more light purple are 2-bedroom units. Anything in yellow that's shown up there, especially kind of in the north area of the L part, is amenity space. So there's 3 indoor amenity spaces, including plus a large locker storage room. Next slide, please. This is the standard floor plan for floors 2 to 7. Again, green are 1-bedroom units, pink are the light purple. Sorry, light purple are the 2-bedroom units. There is a little pink area right at where the building turns. That's an electrical room. Next slide, please. Again, the development will be appropriately landscaped. As you can see from here, street trees along Industrial Parkway, trees along the link to the Metrolinx parking lot. They are proposing outdoor amenity space and shows a shuffleboard, a sand area for kids to play in, some greenery. There's also closer to the building, a shade structure, outdoor building or outdoor seating for the residents. As well, up in the northeast corner, and you can see there's an urban square, again, including some, it's conceptual still, but including some shade structures, maybe some public art, some seating area for the general public. Next slide, please. There's a more blown up version of the urban square. We have looked at the comments from the public information session. We are working on addressing many of those comments. It is a work in progress. We are pushing forward as quickly as possible, but there are some comments that do take some time. So bear with us, and we will move as quickly as possible to get them done, so we can be back in front of you seeking approval. That concludes my presentation. I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you. At this time, I'll ask if there are any members of the public that would like to come to the podium. Yeah, sure. Come on down. I can just get you to state your name and you have 5 minutes.
First name's Mike, last name's Ty. I'm at 160 Wellington. I just was wondering, what's the time frame for your project?
You ask them to me, and then I'll take those questions, and then I'll get them answered for you.
Okay, just looking at a time frame for the project. Just wondering because I guess there's going to be a condo across the street as well at the northeast corner. I was a policeman here for a long time, blissfully retired. It's going to be messy. I was wondering what everybody's doing to sort of make it an easier transition, that it's as easy as possible, because that intersection is, especially if the GO Transit, I understand there's going to be significant changes to Wellington Street as well. They're building a tunnel, I think. Is that correct? Hopefully. Big dreams. We'll see.
Possibly.
Yes. Okay. And the land adjacent to the new apartment building, if the radio the other day said that the Metrolinx and all these, they're going to put a lot of energy, a lot of money into improving the tracks, possibly a second track, another platform. So I wonder if there's going to be additional parking adjacent to the new apartment building. That doesn't belong to the developer. Obviously, it belongs to the GO Transit. But seems like there's going to be a lot of energy put into this area in the next 3 or 4 years. And I'm just reflecting on, I guess, making it, what I know everybody here is smart. They know what they're getting into, but what are we doing collectively to ease the congestion?
Is that all?
Well, on that subject, yes.
You continue. You still got time. So I'll get those once you're done, and I'll get that.
Okay. Is any level of government, are the developers required by any particular or all levels of government within the building? It looks like it's pretty high end. Do they have to offer subsidized housing as well?
Okay. Anything else?
If I think of it, I'll pop back down.
Okay.
But,
All right.
I think that covers most of it.
Okay.
Off
Perfect.
the top of my head for right now. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Very good.
Are there any other members of the public? Nope. Okay. Time frame for the project. Someone like to answer that for me? This will get. I know you're not going to have an exact answer for me, but if you can give something, I guess, a ballpark.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. It does depend on approvals.
Yes.
But let's,
and I'll give you, let's say everything, because it was probably a question that I was going to ask too. When are the permits going to get issued? If everything goes according to the process, when would we be looking at it? And maybe Mr. Ramuno could answer that as well. Mr. Ramuno, did you want to
if the
add?
approvals were in place next year, they'd start next year.
Okay. Okay. This one's for Mr. Ramuno. Mr. Ramuno, in regards to the traffic and the intersection, maybe you can just explain what not only the applicant's doing, but also what the town's doing in regards to this area, and even if the region is looking at anything as well.
Certainly to you, Mr. Mayor, with respect to traffic. So it's a comment that we're obviously, we heard at the community information meeting, and those are, comments we take seriously. So the applicant, along with a number of background technical studies, has also submitted a traffic study. So we are reviewing that as well. The applicant will also need to, there's a signalized intersection, the main driveway into this proposed apartment building aligns with the entrance into St. Max School. And so right now it's technically functions as a, three-way intersection. Once a building is built, it'll function as a four-way intersection. Granted, the movements east and west are, private driveways. So we will also look at the opportunity of improving or enhancing the timing of that intersection to see if we can improve, traffic flows through that stretch of Industrial Parkway between Center Street and Wellington Street. So we'll also be working with the region as well to see if there's other sort of timing of intersections, intersection improvements that we can look at Industrial Parkway and Wellington Street. So again, with respect to parking, we are reviewing the study and looking at any improvements that we can implement as part of this development. With respect to GO parking and Metrolinx, their plans, I think council is probably aware, and just for the members of the public, Metrolinx is embarking on the work on the adding the second track through to Aurora. They're looking at either this fall or spring to begin the adding the bridge and the second track at Yonge Street, just north of Vandorf, and then they will also be continue on with the addition of the second track through north of Wellington. So that'll all happen this spring. You may be aware, Metrolinx has opened their additional commuter parking lot. I think it's about 400 spaces off Scanlon. So that is to supplement the additional parking around the current GO station and the current garage, because they will be losing some surface parking west of the tracks when they add that second track. And with respect to the Wellington Street and rail grade separation, Metrolinx has advised that they are still reassessing that project. So for the time being, it's really the addition of the second track that will commence late this fall, early 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Ramuno. And I'll just add to that, there was a motion back, anyone that was sitting here for the 2014 term, we had a motion to look at from an industrial parkway from Scanlon to Wellington with Center Street to look at what we can do to improve that intersection, whether it's some widening, whether it's changes of direction, the flow of traffic. We're supposed to be investigating all that. That information still hasn't come back to us. It's been a while. I know that motion got sidetracked a little bit and it got kind of put on the back burner, but I know that it's back and staff are looking at that. And so we'll probably get some more information as we continue to look at how that area develops. And I believe staff were working with the consultants in the OP in regards to that motion as well. And so they looked at that aspect of that area and what we need to do to enhance traffic flow. So that was that. Mr. Ramuno, are they required to offer subsidized housing?
To you, Mr. Mayor, they aren't required to obviously offer subsidized housing, but what the applicant has indicated is their intention is to move forward with a purpose-built rental building. Things may change moving forward, but again, I think their goal here and our goal, the town's goal with respect to this intensification area around the GO station, which we call it, our major transit station area, is to provide a variety of different housing units and types, primarily in mid-rise buildings. So as the applicant has indicated, it's not a true subsidized housing project, but they are providing a range of unit sizes, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units.
I think I got all your questions. Did I? All right. Well, you have one more opportunity. So if y'all welcome anyone for the first time, or if you want to come up for a second time with some more questions, you're more than welcome to come up. Okay. Thank you. Doesn't mean that you don't have any opportunities as we continue through that. So, all right. With that being said, I'm going to close the public portion of this meeting. Council, 5.1 is an application for official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment in Gervais Developments, Corp 180, 182 Center, Crescent, part of lot 105, registered plan 246, file number OPA 2022-03, ZBA 2022-05. The recommendation is that report number PDS 23-111 be received, and 2, that the comments presented at the public meeting be addressed by Planning and Development Services in a report to a future general committee meeting. Someone like to move that recommendation? Councillor Kim, seconder. Councillor Thompson. Councillor Gardner. Floor is yours.
To the developer. I was looking at the noise study, and I believe it says that you are going to upgrade the exterior wall that's near the with exposure to the railway. Could you tell me how you're going to do that?
Gord, did you?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. Typically in that instance, you use special type of windows. You have special glazing, more spacing, more panes. You can also use different types of facade. Was it not on?
There's,
It's
you
on.
just got, probably just gotta get a little bit closer.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
Again, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the counselor, types of windows, more spacing between the panes, more panes, that type of stuff in windows helps reduce the amount of sound that gets transmitted between something like a train track or a business into a residential point. I think the biggest point is that the dwellings or the units will conform with the Ministry of the Environment's requirements for noise. Minimum decibel sounds at living areas.
Counselor?
So it's going to be triple pane windows, and you didn't answer the question about the wall. Will it have more insulation?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. They also have air conditioning, all right, that will help keep windows closed so the noise isn't bad. The wall, it's not my area of expertise. I'm not a building expert. Will it have more insulation? It might. They might use different types of materials on the outside. That would help. Again, how it's constructed and the materials that are used will all end up complying, making sure it complies with the requirements from the ministry.
Thank you.
Counselor?
My question is to Mr. Runo. The motion we just passed, is that a motion to go to general committee?
Yes, the recommendation on the floor is to go to general committee.
So Mr. Runo, when I asked you about why there weren't more fulsome staff comments, you said that this was just an information meeting. There's no recommendation. So that's contradictory to what?
Mr.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, what I said, and this is our standard practice, it has been for years. This is an information report with no recommendations, staff recommendations on the merits of the application. This is our standard recommendation to move it forward to the GC, where once we've completed our review of all the background studies, we will then provide a full technical analysis of the applications with a staff recommendation to approve, refuse, or approve with modifications at a future GC meeting.
Counselor?
Question about the comprehensive plan, because they're asking for a zoning change. There needs to be a comprehensive plan done, and as we didn't do it, the applicant was required to do it for a smaller area. But it does say in our official plan that no site-specific zoning bylaw amendments shall be considered until the comprehensive plan is completed. So we could say the comprehensive plan is completed by the applicant, but it hasn't been approved by council and council hasn't seen it. So I'm not even sure, it's a comment, I'm not even sure why this is before us tonight. I think council should be able to see the comprehensive plan and decide whether it's appropriate. And then we would hear an application.
Through
you, Mr. Mayor, our existing official plan requires a comprehensive plan to be prepared by the applicant. It's not a separate or statutory application that requires council approval. It's a supporting documentation along with all the other background technical studies that needs to be submitted, reviewed by staff, and then we will then in turn, once we report back, we'll address all those comments and all those requirements in our future report.
Counselor?
Well, it does hold to the letter of the law in our OP, as it says it needs to be completed, but this is a big deal for our residents and for the town. So would council not see the comprehensive plan after staff review it, bring it to council, and then council is the directing body, and then council would say whether the comprehensive plan was appropriate or not?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So we do have a comprehensive plan. I mean, the comprehensive plan itself really, as part of our official plan, identifies what a logical boundary should be for this development. And it really just lays out how the adjacent lands can develop on their own, whether this is a logical parcel, which can develop on its own, and ensuring that there's proper access from a site to a public road network.
Counselor?
Looking at the official plan and also what you have in your report about comprehensive plans, they're quite detailed, including even open space connectivity. So, and it does say in your report, the many things that are required in a comprehensive plan. It doesn't sound to me like the town, we don't have one. We may have the basic outline, but we certainly don't have the specifics. That's a comment. You don't have to answer that. With respect to the bonusing that's mentioned in the report, it has to be in keeping with the provisions of the OP, and the OP says subject to the Planning Act, density and height, but I'm pretty sure that that was removed by the provincial government.
Mr. Romero?
To you, Mr. Mayor. So on that point, with respect to bonusing, that was removed as part of the recent provincial legislation. I believe is Bill 23. I think Mr. Mahoney mentioned it. So the applicants have submitted an official plan amendment to redesignate the lands, because under our current official plan, they're still within the employment area. But as council is aware, we have a new official plan, our final draft. We're working on to bring that forward to council. And this area has already been, these lands are within the major transit station area, have been approved by the region. The employment lands have been removed from the employment area. It's part of our major transit station area with maximum heights of 7. So notwithstanding that, because our new official plan has not yet received final approval, the applicant is required to submit a official plan amendment to bring the lands into conformity with the existing official plan. But again, just to clarify, our new official plan includes a major transit station area for this area, of which this property is within that, with a height of maximum height of 7. So this proposed application is in conformity with our new official plan and the regional official plan.
Counselor?
And yet this application is brought to us when our official plan that we have now is still on the books. So that's what has to be complied with, not the draft official plan. With respect, so going back to the bonusing that you're talking about in the report, does the applicant have to provide any of the amenities that were in the bonusing in the prior to the province removing it?
Mr. Romero?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no. Now with the provincial legislation, the concept of bonusing under Section 37 was removed, but it was replaced with the new community benefits charge. So that would apply for new applications moving forward. So if this application is approved, a community benefits charge would apply. So there would be a cash contribution to that new legislation as opposed to the Section 37.
Counsel?
Thank you. I think the report is a little misleading in that if you're reading it and you didn't know that, you would expect that the applicant would have to provide something to benefit the town. We don't have in the report what the net developable area is. Could you say what that is?
Mr. Romero?
Through Mr. Mayor, it's close to 2 acres. The entire site is a developable area.
Pardon me?
Counsel?
Close to 2 acres, just shy of 2 acres. 1.9 acres.
Thank you. And the entire site is how large?
Mr. Romero?
Mr. Mayor, the entire site is 1.9 acres.
Counsel?
So you're saying the entire site is developable?
Yes.
And the amenity area is calculated then on the entire site?
Counselor, this is your last question because you're hot.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, the amenity area would be calculated based on, if you're referring to our zoning bylaw standard for the rate combined indoor and outdoor. They're proposing, I think, they are proposing approximately 18 meters
Yes.
per unit. The majority of that is though outdoor amenity space area.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor, to the applicant. I'm excited that we're going to have some intensification to offer this type of development. We do need to see some purposeful rental, and it's in the MTSA proximity. So I do think it's a very good location. The one thing I did want to inquire about is your outdoor amenity space, and just more comments about being more intentional with its use. Since this is going to be an intensified area, I suspect there'll be some young families, perhaps with some young kids, and it is a very busy corner. So, looking at your urban square, being more intentional, it could be, instead of lots of seating there at the corner where it's really noisy, it could be a couple pickleball courts. Where you have your playground, something that's significant. So at least, quite a few children could play there that live in the unit. And I noticed you had a shuffleboard. Hopefully I don't offend any of the shuffleboard players out there, but I'm not so sure I know who uses them. And perhaps it's just being a little bit more thoughtful and use an intentional amenity space that's going to be used by the people that'll be renting the apartments there, because the idea is that if they are going to be there, going to be living within the community and encouraging to be active on site as much as they can. That makes the most sense. Also, pet exercise area. I think a lot of people have dogs and pets, and being able to provide. I noticed you did have some lawn areas and sporadically there, and maybe choosing somewhere where it would be appropriate for a pet exercise area. Because again, you are in a very busy corner. And if we are, again, intensifying, we need to be intentional. And finally, just in light of active transportation, you may have people there that don't have a car at all, but because they're close to go, but they own a bike. And I didn't know if there was perhaps like a bike locker storage area, like for everybody, not individually, but just a bike storage area in the underground garage that you maybe would consider putting down there. So we're encouraging that active transportation and that type of storage down there. And then finally, is, as there are more options on energy, and while, there's different technologies, is having some EV rough-ins for that type of vehicle. If somebody was to purchase an EV vehicle and having some charging stations there, it's just more or less being kind of proactive with that infrastructure. I know I kind of unpacked a lot there, but perhaps you could comment.
Mr. Mayor, there was a lot of good points, a lot of good questions. I think I'll start with the plans that we show are conceptual. So I know it showed a shuffleboard. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a shuffleboard. So we'll look at the types of amenity spaces that we're showing and what could be included in there. Bike storage. The site does have a sufficient bike lock for outdoor, but I understand where you're coming from. We'll look at the storage locker area that's in the building, whether it can accommodate an area for, I guess it would be winter storage of bikes, that type of stuff. EV rough-ins. We've gone back and forth on this matter, and we'll probably go back and forth on it again. We've heard you. I've made a note of it. We'll have that discussion again.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Did you want to add something? Yeah, no, you can. Yeah, absolutely.
So we have a pet washing station. We have an area for pet walking. We have bicycles.
If you can, Troy, if I can just get you to get right into the mic. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
sorry.
you.
So we also have a bike repair area. We'll have tools there that are going to be on cables. We've got bike storage, of course, and outside we've got bike racks as well. Let's see what else you mentioned. EV rough-ins, we'll be doing that. We haven't decided on how many, but we will be doing EV rough-ins. We'll look at changing the shuffleboard to pickleball. Everybody's crazy about pickleball these days. Maybe we should have realized that. I think that was your list of, and we will look at, that urban square is something that we've sent into staff. We haven't had a chance to get any staff comments yet on the urban square. But we've got a spot for it. We've got an area for it. We're ready to spend some money on it. So it's in with the staff to be vetted, and I'm sure we can look at how the kids are going to function in there as well.
Counselor.
Thank you. Just if I can just follow up. And I also mentioned, I don't know what your playground looks like, but to ensure it's a significant playground, if you're going to having that many people in the community, as opposed to some small little rinky-dink structure. As for pickleball, it's just got to be mindful of the noise, because that location and where it is, it could be noisy if you're out on your patio. I actually looked at the urban square and thought, well, that could be a perfect spot because you're by the road. It's pretty noisy. People, if I were to sit there, I don't know if it'd be as enjoyable with all that traffic, just the way you have the lay of the land there, but maybe you can put 2-3 pickleball courts there. And just the way that your design is, you wouldn't necessarily be interfering with the residents there as far as the noise travel from the ball. So it's just things to kind of consider, but it's a sport that's played by all ages. I'm not saying that's what you have to build, but just looking at your plan, there's very limited space to where your amenity is strategically placed. So as I said, to be a little more intentional with the kind of amenities and understanding the families and the people that actually be utilizing it versus, a bunch of rocks and tables to sit if it's just filling space. I just can't see people wanting to sit where there's going to be a heck of a lot of traffic in that area. That's just my personal opinion looking there, but I just want to be more intentional. Okay.
There are requirements in your urban design guidelines for urban parks. So I'm sure your planning director has heard what you've had to say, and maybe there's some deviation possible from the rigid standards that maybe we started with our landscape architect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Through to Mr. Ramuno, just in regards to the comment raised by the one resident, and I'm sure it's all on everybody's mind, but it is true that there are 3 major projects for this area. There is this proposed development, there is the development proposed at the corner of Industrial and Wellington, and of course Metrolink's project that will involve Wellington Street. And while I know that we will try everything we can to coordinate it with the best of intentions, we have to make sure that there's no perfect storm and that all 3 don't occur at the same time, because this is a major crossroads throughout the town. And to have all 3 projects, even if they're at different stages, will create a huge impasse within this part of town. And I think that, you look at any of the developments that are going on, and I'll take the one near me, which is on Maverick, there are trades, there are reduced lanes as a result of trade vehicles and traffic and dirt and so forth. And that's okay when it's one project, you can sort of make your way around it. But again, if all 3 are happening at different stages, it could create a significant problem, which at the end of the day impacts everybody, because again, we're talking about a major crossroads with regards to getting around the town. So I guess my question through you to Mr. Ramuno is, Mr. Ramuno, what tools and options do we have to ensure that we can somehow manage these projects, in conjunction with the various participants, so that it doesn't create that kind of nightmare scenario for the rest of Aurora?
No.
Certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, obviously, it's a good question. It's always a concern when we're dealing with development applications and the timing of when they begin servicing and construction. And no question, this application here is further ahead, in my opinion, than the application on the northeast quadrant, even though that was approved by the board a few years ago, but they haven't submitted a revised site plan application to us. So what we will do when we get to that point and the documents, zoning and official plan, if required, are approved, we will work with the applicant on the site development agreement. And a key component of that is a construction mitigation plan that will work with our engineering department as well. And if we need to, the region, to coordinate construction, access controls, movements, etc. We're hoping, and Metrolinx, I think, is on track this time to have their project, at least with the second track installation, completed sometime in mid to late 2024. So ideally, that should be completed before this project, begins serious work. But again, it's something that we'll certainly are aware of, and we'll work towards ensuring that we can mitigate any concerns with respect to impacts on the in that intersection and the specific community in general as well.
Councillor?
Thank you.
Councillor Hallow?
Thank you. A lot of my questions have been answered, and a lot of the concerns from the community meeting have been addressed to a certain degree. I'm also concerned about that community park and its location. I'm encouraged to hear that staff has heard the comments and take a better look at it. It's only 2,000 square feet. I'm not sure if we can get a pickleball court in 2,000 square feet, but there's maybe some other amenity space outside that can accommodate different things. I just, on the surface, in that corner, it just doesn't feel right, but I think it merits a second look. I also am concerned about what Councillor Thompson was referring to, and I can foresee a lot of problems in that area if we don't really pay a lot of attention to these developments. In terms of this one, I'm equally concerned about traffic. I would like to be reassured that whatever traffic study comes out of any of these developments, that they take into account the other developments that are taking place. Obviously, it's not in isolation, that everyone is going to need to use those roads. Actually, that might be a question through you, Mr. Mayor, whether or not this development is taking into consideration everything else that's happening around the area.
Mr. Ramona, are the studies going to be in isolation, or are they going to be in combination with what's anticipated to come?
Certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor, another good point. And again, the traffic consultants are required to look at development that's planned in the vicinity as well. So they don't just look at their site in isolation. I'll also add as well that as part of our official plan update, we had a larger townwide transportation study as well that also focused in on the future development of the major transit station area, these intensification areas around the GO station. So again, it's something that we're aware of, and we're responsible to ensure that when each application does come forward, before we make a recommendation, that we ensure that we mitigate any concerns when it comes to traffic and in the general area around that major transit station area. So it's duly noted, and something that we're looking at closely with our traffic analyst and with our regional counterparts as well.
Councillor?
Thank you. Has a traffic study been submitted yet? And have staff reviewed it?
Mr. Ramona?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, as part of the background work, a traffic study has been submitted, and our staff has looked at it as well. So we don't really see, our traffic analyst doesn't see any red flags with that, but we're also looking at our traffic work that was done as part of our OP for that major transit station area. And as I mentioned, we're looking at once this intersection, the signalization for this development is installed, whether we can make any improvements to the timing of that, as well as, and we're going to also look at whether there are any improvements or enhancements at the intersection of Industrial and Wellington as well.
Councillor?
And through you, Mr. Mayor, is Center Street anticipated to be closed at some point?
Mr. Ramona?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I actually mentioned that at the community information meeting. We had a lot more people at that meeting, and so we don't have any plans. It's something that we're also looking at as well with respect to Center Street. We did hear from Metrolinx a number of years ago. That was an option that they were considering as well, but we don't have anything definite from them. But it's one of the options that we're also, staff is also investigating.
Councillor Odd, I think that there's also investigations on whether it should be one way as well. Like, so they're looking at a lot of options to see what would make sense and what would work for our community.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure something will come up, but to tunnel Young Street, maybe someone can update. I'm not sure what the latest is. I'm sorry, not Young Street, Wellington.
I was going to say Tunnel Young Street. When that option
Wellington. To have another road crossing, whatever it is, 200 meters north, needs to be dealt with to have efficient 15-minute, trains up and down both ways. So is there any update on anything new on the tunneling of Wellington Street?
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. No, nothing new. Our last discussion with the Metrolinx staff, a couple of years ago, it was one of the 10 projects that they identified for grade separation, where Wellington would then go under the tracks. They put that on hold. So they are just proceeding with adding the second track, and they're reassessing all the proposed grade separations up and down the corridor. So, in my opinion, and we've got another meeting coming up with Metrolinx soon, we'll ask them again. We don't think that that's going to happen anytime soon. It's not on their plans.
Councillor?
Thank you. And I just want to confirm what the motion is before us. It is the recommendation that's in the report to receive
Correct.
and to refer to GC.
Correct.
Which is really one of three options we typically have: deny, refer to GC, or refer to public plan.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure about the issue with.
Yeah, no, it's not an approval at all. It's just moving it along the process. That's all.
Thanks.
Councillor Reese?
Thank you. And thanks for the presentations, and particularly the resident. I've got a couple of things I just want some clarity to, because I read in the information this was a purpose-built rental and is designed to be a purpose-built rental, but I don't know who said it, but I just wanted it confirmed that that's the intention of the developer, to make this a purpose-built rental unit. Is that the case?
Yeah, Mr. Ray, did you want to answer? Absolutely. And
We started the project. It was intended to be a rental project. I don't need to tell you how financing and the financial world has changed in the last 6 months and may continue to change. It's still our hope to be able to do a rental building, but if interest rates persist at the high level that they're at, that may be something that we'll have to reconsider. So I want to make sure council doesn't bank on the fact that this will definitely be 193 units of rental. It will be a 193 unit building, plus or minus, depending on the staff review. But we cannot fully commit to it being a 100% rental building. And if it is a rental building, or if it's any kind of building, we will not be applying to the government for any subsidized housing units.
Councillor?
Okay, thank you. That's clear. I just wanted the clarity because it came forward as a purpose built, and then there was a discussion about perhaps being a condo. So thank you for the clarity there. The other thing is maybe to Mr. Ramuno on the town's presentation. There are 6 bullets there. Staff have identified the following matters to be addressed, and it really follows on what maybe Councillor Gallo and perhaps Councillor Gartner were saying about the completeness of the application. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Ramuno, are you comfortable and confident that the matters that are to be addressed can be addressed, so we can move this from public planning to GC? And you think that those are either underway or they will be available by GC?
Mr. Ramuno?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, again, it's our practice to identify any of the issues that staff have raised that we need to address before we come back with a full report. But it's also in the purpose of the public meeting is to gauge sort of comments from council, but also comments from the community. And so we've listed some of those concerns that we've heard from the residents at this evening, but obviously at the community information meeting and any comments that we hear tonight. So in moving forward, it is a complete application. There's a host of background studies that they have submitted. So yes, we're confident that over the next few months, we can complete our review and come back with a comprehensive report with recommendations for council's consideration.
Thank you.
Counselor?
And also piling on a little bit with Councillor Thompson and Gallows, and because Ward 1 is just across the tracks from this, where a lot of my residents are. I was contacted by Metrolinx about a community committee that they are intending to announce somewhat soon. And when we had our original conversations with them, they said that that wouldn't happen until some construction was imminent. So I'm just piling on to that, saying that something's going to be happening, and I'll be providing more information about that when it's available. So thanks very much.
Thank you. Councillor Gardner, second time.
Thank you, Mr. Romano. I'm looking at the chart, page 7, lot area. Because it's a rental building or a condo, it's 39 meters squared per dwelling unit. Does that mean the actual size of the unit?
Mr. Romano?
Through Mr. Mayor. So yes, that's the old apartment standard for the area broken down, the lot area divided by the number of units.
Councillor?
So that's a unit size, I'm assuming it's a 1-bedroom of 420 square feet.
Mr.
That-
Romano?
That's a small.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just to be clear, this doesn't relate to the unit size itself, the future unit size and square footage. This is just a calculation. It's an old standard calculation of the lot area divided by the number of units. And so the lot area per in units square, but it doesn't translate into unit sizes.
Councillor?
Okay, I'm going to assume, and I think it's correct, that if you look at the parent zone and this zone, the size per dwelling unit is substantially increased. So the units are going to be small. If that makes them affordable, that's okay. If that doesn't make them affordable, that's not okay. With respect to, I'm worried that this is going to be very, very close. Could you stop my thought? Mr. Uno, I'm looking at the chart. I'm worried that this is going to be very, very close to the street.
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, maybe Kenny can help me up with the setback, but yes, based on our official plan, the intention, as per our urban design guidelines as well within the promenade, is to, it's an intensification area. So we are going to see more intense development with the building face framing the street and reduce setbacks, as opposed to the mid-rise apartment buildings that we saw decades ago. So we're still going to ensure that, we're protecting for proper pedestrian movement along the street face. But yes, the building will be brought closer to the street. And we look at other design factors with respect to pedestrian access, vehicle access, parking, and of course, the implementation of the urban square.
Councillor?
My third comment on the chart is about the parking standard. The parent is 1.5 spaces per dwelling. This is 1.24. This is near the major transit station. I don't understand why it's 1.24. Mr. Mayor, you put forward a motion that I supported about reducing the standard. If it makes the units bigger or the green space bigger, then that would be very appreciated. My concerns are the following. The amenity area, 50% is supposed to be inside, and we have 15% So now I'm speaking to the quality of life of the future residents, all of my following comments. We have very cold winters. We don't know what the winters are going to be like with climate change. Giving the residents in an intense development like this 15% inside for all those winters months is not acceptable. Because the units will be so close to the street, we're talking about two very busy streets here. I would expect that if the residents, I mean, we have to think about the noise. So we have to think about the quality of the windows and the insulation, because those are the two things that will mitigate noise. I mean, having to keep your windows closed, I think as mentioned, it's just not acceptable for quality of life. With respect to the snow storage area, I can see it's like we don't know what the snow is going to be like, but I can see that at least 4 or 5 of the parking spaces are going to end up. At least 4 or 5 of the parking spaces are going to end up as snow storage. The snow storage area is very small. And I live in a medium rise, and I know what happened last winter. All of our visitor spots got taken up by snow. When we're talking about shade, outdoor shade, all the pavilions, everything I see in your drawings are kind of those slatted roofs. We need to have real shade. They need to have roofs. With respect to the chairs and the tables in the public square, loose chairs and tables, it's not a good idea. Again, with climate change, with the winds that Aurora has experienced and other communities have experienced, those chairs will be blowing all over the place. And it's a safety issue. With respect to the very strange looking statue, if you know the one I'm referring to, if we are going to have a statue, it needs to be solid, not something with things going off in all directions that can be perhaps compromise safety. The base needs to be very solid.
Counselor, I
Please.
got you almost at 5 minutes, so if you can finish up.
Please, when you're doing this, when you're looking at this again, please think about the quality of life of the future residents.
Thank you. Counselor Kim, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand earlier when your planner said that you will meet the provincial, minimum guidelines at the very least, and it's my hope that it doesn't just hit the minimum, but exceeds that, and also with regards to the interior, the exterior, the aesthetics. This is Central Aurora where people come in and out. From the GO train station, it's a central hub, and so it's highly visible, and it could, it's representative of us as Aurorans, and we would like to see a built form that is something that we can be proud of. I'm very pleased that this development is within the height guidelines, because we don't see too many of that. So we're thankful that you guys are working with us with respect to the height. I realize that with the interest rate structure the way it is currently, there is a temptation for developers to try to hit the lowest common denominator as opposed to exceeding what everyone would like to see built. So my hope is that what I see here is, I know it's just two-dimensional, but a plain red brick building. I don't see huge glass, framing or some, limestone, concrete, or slabs. But it would be nice to have something a little bit more aesthetically variable, other than what I see here. Because, you know, when new construction comes in, especially a building in the midst of, you know, you see some low rises behind the site, you want something that's going to pick up and raise all the other structures, low rise and mid rise alike around it. And, you know, some residents may complain about development and so forth, but after 2-3 years of construction, when they see something that they're happy and proud to see in their neighborhood, it really is a very satisfying wait, you know, for staff, for counselors, and especially the residents that what they have to go through in the development process. So I guess my ask is, you know, if you could, in GC, because I am in favor, and that you guys will work with us and to build something that, you know, might be slightly a little bit different here. If you can put some variation to this, you know, that'd be very appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gallo, second time.
Thank you. I just wanted to, first of all, confirm just that we did send out the notice to the same people that was at the community information session. Just to confirm that.
Yeah, Mr. Romano.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we did.
Counselor.
And just so, I don't know if anyone else was there. I don't think so. There was quite a few people there. I was a little surprised not to see some of them here, but I did want to confirm to all of you that it was a very good showing, and there was a very thorough and lengthy discussion on a lot of the things we're discussing tonight. So I just wanted to at least let you know that the public was involved at that meeting. I heard them, the developer heard them, staff heard them, and I think it went well, and addressed a lot of the issues that they had. I know that let's say this does go to GC and it gets approved. I know that we don't see site plans anymore, but through you, Mr. Mayor, do we know what kind of timing that a site plan would be completed? And is there an opportunity, at least maybe for me or anyone else who's interested, to take a look at it prior to staff approving it?
Mr. Romano.
Certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Council Gallo. So they have submitted a formal site plan application. So I think based on how the applicant finalizes their design, we should be able to provide some of those more final renderings of the site plan and architectural features within our future report. And again, you know, that'll be an ongoing process, and of course, those are public. So council's always welcome to call and take a look at the latest submission. But we'll ensure that in our future report, we'll have the latest and most up-to-date site plan and architectural drawings.
Councillor.
Thank you. And it was really to Councillor Kim's point that it would be good to know what it's going to look like closer to completion, at least from our what we have to do. I also acknowledge that, you know, these types of things, at least architectural details, are subjective. What I like, you might not like, and how do you determine what the perfect thing is? Having said that, it's good to see, and maybe I'll reach out to you when they are ready. I would like to take a look. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Kim, second time.
If for JC, if it goes there, if you could bring some 3D renderings, that'd be appreciated.
Any other comments or questions? Councillor Gilliland, second time.
I just want to say, let us know when you get the shovels in the ground, because we need to get these built. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Twice. Seeing none, just before I call the vote, obviously everyone's heard the concerns around the table and some thoughts, and I think the biggest concern is probably the traffic, and we want to ensure that the traffic flow is appropriate for our community, and we have a continuous flow that doesn't disrupt not only after the fact, but also during construction. I think we're all looking forward to seeing revisions, minor tweaks, looks of the building. I remember one building that we were told it was going to be red and it's not red. If everyone knows which one I'm talking about, it's supposed to be red brick on Yonge Street. And when they drop, Mark was saying, don't remind us. But everyone's heard those concerns. We've heard the concerns from the residents, and I think we're all looking forward to working together to ensure that the end product is something that is acceptable, not only for council, but for all the residents, and fits in and is compatible with the community, and everyone is on board with it. So I'm looking forward to this if this moves to general committee, to continuing those conversations and working through to have a plan that is a great plan for our community. That said, I'll call a vote. Carries. Just so anyone knows, if you want, make sure you fill out one of those green forms, and you'll be informed of when general committee comes up, and that way you can join in on that meeting as well. Okay. Thank you for coming out this evening. Council confirming bylaw. Someone like to move that? Councilor Gallo, Councilor Thompson. All those in favor? Yeah, hands on this one. Opposed? That carries. Motion to adjourn. Councilor Thompson, Councilor Gardner, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.